This emotional sobriety, I tell people it's Al-Anon on steroids. My basis of my disease is codependency. And so it's the final frontier, the final freedom.
Bill Wilson, co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, wrote in 1952, "If we examine every disturbance we have, great or small, we will find at the root some unhealthy dependence and its consequent demand." Wilson suggested that if we could identify and continually surrender these unrealistic and unrealizable demands, that we may then be able to accomplish what he imagined to be the recovery's next frontier, something he called emotional sobriety. Flash forward 70 years and join psychotherapists and best-selling authors Tom Rutledge and Dr. Alan Berger, who have taken up the mantle of exploring Bill Wilson's new frontier. Welcome to Emotional Sobriety.
Welcome to Emotional Sobriety. Welcome to, what passes for our emotional sobriety. And this is our second episode as Emotional Sobriety podcast. Alan Berger and I have been at this for a while with the Start Right Here, but we're really happy and looking forward to focusing more on this wonderful topic that has become just really a major focus of our professional life together. Alan, is emotional sobriety, and that's largely due to you. How are you doing?
Well, I'm just trying to get the cramp out of my left shoulder here. Oh my God. All right, there it is.
Is that a tennis thing?
Yeah, it's I started working out again now that I'm past my COVID fatigue. It's been so hard. I got COVID in November and I had that long hauler syndrome, and until recently, I haven't had enough energy to start working out again. So the guy that I do a MIT training with, boxing, came over yesterday, and I had my first boxing workout.
Oh wow!
November, and there's
and your body is cussing you. Yeah, your body is going. I thought
you had something different yesterday.
That's right. I thought we quit that shit. Come on, man. It's like. And
it was wonderful to get back out there and move, and we did try to keep it a bit tame. I'm not ready to get in the ring again, and hopefully I won't be getting in the ring again. If I do that, you get to definitely have me certified insane, Tom.
All right,
put away someone.
I've got I have the paperwork. I've had it a long time ready for you. So Patrick's voice is on our new intro, and the music backing that up is from a wonderful singer-songwriter named Jefferson Ross. We'll talk more about him as we go along. And I'd like for you to meet him, both of you, Patrick and Alan. He's been a longtime friend of mine here in Nashville. He left Nashville a long time ago, but he's got a lot of wonderful stuff. There should be information about his contact information or website or something in our notes, but definitely check him out, and we really appreciate his permission to use some of his music to back us up a little bit.
Yes, thank you, Jefferson. And look, this is our second show, and we're excited. What we're going to do today, right, is that we have two individuals who join us on a regular basis on Thursday night, Tom and Kathy, and without any further ado, why don't you both introduce yourself? We'll let ladies go first, Tom, if that's all right. Kathy, welcome.
Hi, I'm Kathy, and as far as introduction, I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana, recovering alcoholic, compulsive eater, and in Al-Anon many years, and grateful to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's great to have you, and I always love seeing you in the show, and I feel your excitement about emotional sobriety. So welcome, and we're going to get to talk to you about it here in a minute. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Alan and Tom and Patrick, and thanks for inviting me, and great to have Kathy along. Been seeing her on Thursday nights throughout the year, I guess it's been. And I'm Tom. I live in New Jersey. I'm an alcoholic and an addict, and dabbled in a whole bunch of other 12-step fellowships, Al-Anon, ACOA. I've got 32 years clean and sober, and lots of other stuff in between addressing emotional sobriety.
Really glad you guys are here.
Yeah, it's really, really exciting to have you join us. And it's been quite a ride on Thursday nights, hasn't it, for the last year?
Well, I have to start and tell you guys, I just love you guys, and It's one of the highlights of my week, and I am learning so much and gaining freedom. And I tell everyone about it. So just want to thank you so much for all your studies and experience and learning to bring this forward, because I do think it's on the forefront.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. And thank you for that, Kathy. I've sensed your excitement about this and your enthusiasm and the meaning that it's brought to your life, which I'm so glad for.
And the meaning you share with the other people when you share in the group, because there's, it's a special talent to be able to kind of, a term we use a lot is nutshell, but kind of just put into some recognizable brief form some of the wisdom that we want to share with each other. And you do a wonderful job with that. You're very good with words. I can't imagine that you're not. I don't know if you are a writer, if you like to write, but I would imagine you're a very good writer.
Actually, well, believe it or not, I was an airline pilot. And for a major airline, and we use checklists. So I thought I would like to show you a checklist that I made up for emotional sobriety.
Wonderful.
Wow.
I love it. It's a great idea. Okay. Do we have to say co-pilot to pilot or anything like that before we start that?
Yes.
What would the jargon be in the cockpit to go over the checklist?
Well, let's see. United 457, before start checklist.
There we go. I like that. Emotional sobriety, 457, before start checklist. There we go.
What made me think of this is in the big book, it has that upon awakening part.
Yeah.
So I thought if I had this and I laminated it like a checklist, I could look at it every morning. And to me, emotional sobriety is almost like getting in a stance and taking an attitude to approach life. So, and there's so much to it. So now some of this may not be global because I picked out some of the stuff I already do. So I picked out for me what I need to do. So here it is.
All right.
Hot off the press, emotional sobriety. So being very organized, I had what to do, what not to do, and what to remember.
Perfect.
So what to do: keep my emotional center of gravity based on my faith, self-support with positive self-talk and affirmations, parent myself with love, keep a healthy perspective on myself, my feelings, emotional themes, have compassion. Of course, I made a mistake. Use my personal compass to guide my life. Use I choose and I want. So those four were kind of the to-dos of the to-dos. And then the red is kind of thinking about own my projections, confront myself, pressure my own self to change. Remember what others say and do says more about them. Be curious about that. And then the other two were kind of lovely, peaceful things like comfort myself when I'm hurt or disappointed, stay in gratitude, which is your appreciate what is.
Yeah.
And then what not to do: no expectations, blaming, shoulds, external validation, Q-tip, quit taking things personally. Don't let others edit my reality, choose whether I want to be influenced. And then what to remember: use tension and trouble to show where I need to grow. Stay connected, be assertive, don't people please, fight or run, and creatively adapt. Let only the situation control me. And remember, the goal is happiness. The goal is not happiness, it's freedom to feel all my feelings and choose my response.
Wonderful.
So
Yay.
It's way too organized for me, though. I am more of a chaotic recovery person, and it just floats in and out of my head.
well, that's cool. I'm very OCD, as you can tell. And so,
well, if you were flying any plane I was on, I appreciate your OCD-ness. I would not. Now, if you would have left the mic on and said, "Oh, of course I made a mistake," that would have made me nervous. is like, but no, I like people in that profession to be very, very, and it is so thorough. And it's like, I mean, I even thought as I was listening to it, going like, wow, it's overwhelming in a way. There's so much to remember. And and my little guy in my head goes, yeah, I bet it doesn't even compare to the checklist she did before she actually took a jet up into that sky. But
Right.
it's like even this is like it's so thorough that it really does. It has a heaviness to it in terms of just responsibility. I love it.
Kathy, what on the checklist do you struggle with the most, would you say, at this point in time?
The projection. That's hard. They say in program, if you spot it, you got it. That always used to bug me.
You guys are in our podcast right now. You have just announced your engagement on our podcast. This is Brian who reads the letter from Bill Wilson. And the floor is now his fiance. Well, congratulations, you guys.
Brian and Floor.
Celebrities now. It's amazing.
Oh my God.
I'll give you guys a call back after we're all done here.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll all call you.
That's great.
Don't edit that out, Patrick. You're going to be tempted.
Oh my goodness, isn't that fantastic? Look at that. They were so happy. The big smile on their face. They FaceTimed me just a minute ago.
That's
Brian's
great.
been planning this for weeks now. He's been trying to do it on the QT. And she started getting suspicious, so he knew he had to move up the date. So he popped it to her today, the question. And obviously she accepted.
Did they meet on emotional sobriety?
No, they've known each other for some time now. I'm not sure exactly how long, but it's been some time. But no, it's not a budding romance and emotional sobriety. I'm sure we'll have one of those at some point.
We love their dogs.
Yes, we do.
He'll need more of it, emotional sobriety, as he moves in.
Well, I'm saying it's a good start to bring that in your engagement, right? Is to have that. It's this thing. What would happen in my life if I just raise my consciousness even 5% every day? If I just add 5% more consciousness around the themes around emotional sobriety, how would that change the course of my day? How would that change how I experience my day, how I interact with other people? So what I love about it is you're really setting your intention, Kathy, is to bring a higher consciousness into your life on a daily basis, which I think is such an important thing for us to do. I think that's what Bill was encouraging people to do to start the day off, right? With some prayer and meditation.
Well, I was afraid I would read your book and go, wow, this is great. And then it would just kind of in one ear and out the other. So I was like, how can I apply this? How can I get it in my life?
Well, yes. And see, you're bringing up a very good point. We talk about it all the time. And I love how Tom comes back and reminds people of this, but integrating this requires practice. It doesn't get integrated by it just being I read the book and then you put it down and God, there's great ideas in there. And see, what you're doing is you're picking it up. And the way I like to describe it is you're digesting it. You've taken it into your person. I see you've made it yours. You've tweaked it to fit who you are and your particular, your individuality. You're honoring your values and stuff. And I see that as you're integrating it and you've made it your own and you're practicing it. See, that's the key. What we say is practice doesn't make perfect. It makes permanent. Practice makes permanent. And that's what you're doing. So hooray. And everyone out there, listen, take a tip from Kathy on this, is that however you choose to do it, if you commit yourself to just increasing your consciousness, even by 5%, I guarantee you're going to start to make some incredible changes in your life. So great job, Kathy. Thanks for sharing that with everybody today.
Hope it helps. I'll be happy to share it with anyone and they can make up their own, individualize it.
That's right. See, that's what a call to that, right? Is that each of us to do that. And, by the way, which is fun too, Tom and I and Vince, who helped me with the new book that's coming out, we're working on a book called Emotional Sobriety, One Day at a Time.
Oh, wow.
So
Like a
what happened is-
meditation book?
yeah,
Yeah,
we're going to have a thought for the day, and then a discussion on that, and then what's the last part called, Tom? Try it on for size.
Just try this. I think it's called. It's you guys, because you guys voted me down on smart ass comment of the day. So we you went to try this. Yeah. Or I think we've written it different ways. I write try this. You try this on. I think you have more of a wardrobe metaphor in mind.
Yeah, that's what I was. Just try this on for the day, but to try this is because look, part of what I encourage all the time is that it's so important in all of this work we're doing to take an experimental attitude.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what's going to work for you. You know, sometimes I'm not sure what's going to work for me, but if I have an open mind, and that's where that open-mindedness, I think, becomes so important. If I have an open mind and try it on, my experience is going to tell me the validity of that for my life. When it fits, when it works, there's something inside that goes, aha, this is it, right? So it's that this is an experience that I have, that this fits, that there's something about this that makes total sense for my life. And when it doesn't, I don't have that kind of thing.
I was going to say, I have a sponsee who is getting back into dating and relationships. He goes, how do I know when I'm ready? I said, when you start getting into relationships and seeing if you're ready. This the only way to practice this stuff is to actually be in the moment, in these relationships and situations with people, and to measure our reactions.
That's right. And see, what I would tell him, Tom, if he was talking to me, I'd say, you'll never be ready. Forget that idea. Get in a relationship and do some on-the-job training. See, that's what gets you ready, is get in there and mix it up and make some mistakes and get hurt and have your expectations and just stay closely connected to your experience. And the way Herb Kagan says it, gently lean into the experience. I love it. I love that kind of phrase. Gently lean into it, because our experience is going to teach us so much. Yeah. If we're open to learning from it, and if we don't get in the way with these things like, I should know this already, or I should have this figured out, or I shouldn't have this kind of a problem, or, you know, what's wrong with me that I'm struggling with this? Well, maybe nothing.
Right. I think that's, I think, Alan, that's one of the main principles, at least if I'm making a list of principles of emotional sobriety, living to learn is one of those principles. It's like, it's just, you just take that the hypothetical question, how will I be different if I consider my goal today to learn something? And then specifically, then if we say, how does my life change if I'm saying, what if my goal today is to learn something about me, instead of,
I think we just got the subtitle of our podcast: Emotional Sobriety, Living to Learn and Learning to Live.
There you go. I like it.
Did you write that down, Patrick? Living to learn and learning
to live. Yeah. I got that. And then I wanted to ask Tom and Kathy about, I want to hear what you think about the Thursday night emotional sobriety meetings, but then more broadly speaking, this is all kind of a new process, the Zoom support group. And, what was the transition like? It has to be like a year and some change ago when you first started bringing, your concept of fellowship from like the physical realm into, we're all learning kind of how to do the Zooms and getting over these awkward barriers and still finding that emotional intimacy with each other. I just think I would love to hear your guys' stories as far as like how you navigated that.
I had some online relationships in recovery through a message board. And so I had some recovery conversations with people, which turned into phone calls. So I wasn't just I have to touch you, feel you, see you in a meeting to get that relationship going. And, luckily I'm a tech guy. So when Zoom, started to come into play at our local meetings, I helped set up a whole bunch of them. I still run a whole bunch of online meetings, and found that we could still make emotional connections. We were seeing a huge thirst for recovery and people showing up, and being able to if I'm present, connect with the other person on the screen. So that's been actually a wonderful way for me to expand and be of service and provide back. The Thursday night meeting has been just a huge journey, because I dabbled a bit. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This is good. Listening to Alan bring in some speakers, and and participating a little bit, to then becoming a weekly participant, and then getting the bouncer position of handling the waiting room and helping to run it. Which in a way, I'm like, oh wow. Do I want to do this? Oh yeah, okay, let's just run with it, and really enjoying being part of that mosaic every Thursday night, and finding people both of a like mind and a like spirit, just the thirst for trying to get to somewhere better for themselves, which is wonderful.
And for me, Zoom works really well. I am a little on the shy side, so, and I also like things to be very efficient. So you can just pop on, pop off. I don't feel as nervous on Zoom for some reason, because I think there's some kind of little bit of barrier than being in person. So it really kind of works for me really well. It has totally enriched my program and my life, because I can go to meetings all over the world and meet different people. So this experience, I never would have heard you guys. And my story is, I started OA when I was 17. So I've been in OA 47 years. And I've gone through therapy and stuff like, sexual abuse, all this different, codependency, alcoholism, all these, I've kind of I'm almost at the mountaintop. And I joined Al-Anon about 5 years ago, and I was really getting a grip on codependency. And then this emotional sobriety, I tell people it's Al-Anon on steroids. My basis of my disease is codependency. And so it's the final frontier, the final freedom. And I believe I'm kind of finished with fixing and exploring my own self. And now I'm starting to feel a grip on this emotional sobriety now. So now it's kind of time to give back and learn, help others. And I had written Alan an email and said, because I'm always looking ahead. I guess it's a little bit of fear there, of like, okay, what do I got to prepare for next? And so I said, you should write your next book on grief, because, boomers are getting older, and I can see I'll be losing brothers and sisters, husbands, unless I go first. So, but I kind of feel like with the end of this, or incorporating it, I'm kind of done for the most part. I mean, there'll always be, but what else is there? You get over your addictions, and you finally heal the codependency and become mature and balanced and humble. Then you're kind of done and ready to go out, live and experience and help others.
Well, Kathy, it's all the thing I think about. And I can't remember who I heard say this one time, but I love this sentence. It's all about grief. Grief's about letting go. If you think about how much are we in any version of the A programs, we're letting go of things always. I think about friends of mine and people I've known through the years who are parents. And one of the things I told somebody just the other day, that when I recognize a really good parent, because when I see somebody who has children and they're in a constant simultaneous state of celebration and grief. They're always letting go of something, and they're always celebrating something new, and there is always something new. But it's grief. It's interesting you say that. two books that one of them is a book called Necessary Losses by Judith Fiorist, written back in the 70s. I'm rereading that again based on what we're all are talking about. But basically her point of view is the quality with which we live our life is dependent upon how well we grieve, how we do with loss. And then the other one, I told you that this Pema Chodron brought out another book that sounds perfect for us, Welcoming the Unwelcome. And so that if that's not emotional sobriety, I don't know what is. But I think that your insight, Kathy, I mean, there's probably any number of ways to put it, but grief is a beautiful way to put it. And grief is not just what we do when somebody dies. It's what we're doing when we're as you know at my age of 67. I realized no, you're losing things all along, and I'm at an age where you're talking about is true too. That I feel like people are dropping like flies around me sometimes, and it's a different experience than I thought it was going to be. It really is a challenging experience, and does feel like we need to work on being better at it.
Mhm.
So I love that. I love that look at it. Yeah.
In a crude way, I describe it as caring and not caring, right? Like it's all going to happen. It's all going to happen anyway. Right. How much do I care because I'm emotionally involved, or I love that person or experience or whatever, but not care so much that I'm devastated when it leaves me, and that I'm crippled by it. And that's the balance.
And I want to clarify, I think what you're saying by done, Kathy, because what we say is our recovery is never done. We're never finished in the sense, but I think what you mean, at least is what I would mean, and you correct me if you're thinking different about it, is when you're saying done, it means you have a set of tools now to be able to meet whatever happens in your life and feel that you can take that experience and now claim it, process it, digest it, work with it so that it doesn't knock you off balance. See, that's the done part. It's like now you've got a couple tools, right? You've got these tools that now you really feel like, God, somebody's, I'm finally figuring out how do I show up in this world to be able to be okay at the end of it, right? Is to be able to take whatever experiences come my way and to be able to meet them. Is that the meaning you have when you use the word done?
Yes.
Yes.
It's almost to me like cleaning a house, and you really get it really clean. You have it organized just how you want it, and you're very comfortable in it. And sure, you're going to have to keep cleaning, and but it's pretty much, and there might.
You got the tools. You got the broom. You've got the mop. You've got the cleaners. You've got all the things. The rags that you need. All the different things that you need to clean the house. And some things you didn't even realize that you could clean. Now you've got some cleaners for that. See, that's what I love about recovery, is that we're discovering things all the time that help us. I mean, I see that just between Tom and I in terms of the work we've done this last year. I've seen Tom change over this year. I think he's heard how I've changed, and I've adopted some stuff from him. He's adopted some stuff from me. I've taken stuff from that Thursday night meeting.
Me too.
I got something out of that Thursday night meeting with people sharing and stuff like that, new perspectives. Even today, I've gotten something from what you've brought to us and how you're thinking about it. So that's the thing. So everybody, when you're listening to Kathy, she's not saying you're done. You're not. It's not like you're a tri-tip and you've been cooked to the right temperature. And now we're finished, right? We're finished. We take the tri-tip out. We're ready. No. She is saying is that she's got, and this is true. It made me think of an interesting discussion in psychotherapy. Freud called it is analysis terminable or interminable? Are we ever done surfacing the unconscious into the conscious? Does there ever a point where that's complete? And of course, the conclusion was no. Fritz Perls, the Gestalt therapist, came along, and instead of him focusing on bringing unconscious to consciousness, it's integrating polarities. Tom calls it like your should monster and let's say your healthy self, right? And how do we integrate those two parts of us? And Fritz came up with the same thing, is we're going to be integrating issues the rest of our life. But the technology, the learning how to do that, just like we said, when we start learning how to unpack our disturbances, after we've unpacked them, it doesn't mean all of a sudden all our expectations are going to be purged and we're not going to have any more. What's going to happen is the ones that are unconscious or out of our awareness will stumble across. And now we have a way of saying, wow, what's the expectation underneath this? See, that's the technology that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Well, I used to just feel crippled by these various things like the eating disorder and the sexual abuse and the codependency. And now it's kind of like I just feel more like I'm okay now. And now I can just live, you know, and it's like there's no major things anymore that.
Well, you're caught up. You're caught up. Sometimes I think we just feel like the first part of our life, we're just trying to get to the damn starting line.
Yes.
You know, and you get there, it feels really good.
Yes.
Excuse me, Patrick, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say that for a long time, I didn't recognize the house as being like cleanable. There weren't, nothing was malleable. You know, things just are what they are, and I was kind of being led by things rather than doing the leading or doing the driving. And so, I mean, I imagine you said 40, you know, what did you say? Like, it's been 42 years since you've been
47 years.
47 years. And then Tom is celebrating, like, what is it? Your 32nd birthday or something like that?
I just celebrated 32 in February. Yeah.
32. I mean, so you guys are old hats at this point. You go and do a lot of maintenance to, you know, manage all the feelings coming at you.
And that's why I think the emotional sobriety meeting and I'll call movement is so exciting, is that it starts to stretch the boundaries and we start to mix in these different tools and philosophies and science, and you can blend it together and not have to worry about the dogma of, let's say, 12 steps or AA specifically. And I really enjoy that because, you know, I can tell you where my pain points are. I can tell you, you know, when that character defect pops up, I can do some work and kind of bring it back around to why I got disturbed. And I think that's what Kathy was saying too. You get to a certain point, and then just the emotional sobriety stuff just layers on top of it so nicely.
Alan, I want to tell you that I know how your reflex got triggered when Kathy used the word done, because I listened carefully after that too, and what that reminded me of when I was much younger, and I'd gone to 1 week of treatment for codependency after I'd been sober for maybe a year. And I remember literally saying to a friend of mine, I'm so glad I've got that family of origin stuff taken care of, you know, and it's because, and we do, there are places where we actually are in points of celebration of having done a lot of work, that it is a good reminder that it's not bad news that when us killjoys come in here and say, now, not done, you know, there's more to do. But I love the idea of maintenance, being in a place where you're not always behind trying to catch up.
Right.
I look at recovery. Recovery is kind of like Sisyphus, but not in a bad way. You know, you're rolling that rock up to the top. You just come to like the rock, and you come to kind of like, you know, be comfortable with the process, and
you get comfortable when the rock rolls back over you.
Yeah, the rock becomes your friend, right? Yeah.
So that happened again. Oh.
Yeah.
Sisyphus, but not in a bad way. I love.
I was expecting that when I let go of the rock, it wasn't going to roll back on top of me. Where did that expectation come from?
Yeah. The scary part was how many times did we think that before it occurred to us that maybe it's going to do it every time.
I remember when Earhart Seminar training started, and I don't know if you guys knew any of S people that went to S training, but I had a lot of my clients, because that was at the time of the human potential movement. Everybody's going, and when they came back, they always had one line. Do you remember what the line is?
No, but I'll recognize it when you say it.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. And it was always like the big question, well, what is the it? and you could not find out what the it was unless you went. See, that was the secret, right? That was the hook.
Marketing.
Oh, it was brilliant. I mean, my God, you got it? You really have it? You got it? Oh my God, I wanted it all my life. Now, I didn't know what the hell it was, but I knew I wanted it. Whatever it was, I had to have it, right? I mean, and it was such a great thing because then what the got it was is the got it was you never got it, meaning that it was something you could never get. It was always a process of becoming, right? Of moving towards, right? But the one thing I was laughing about before, recently, one of the things that's just really coming to the foreground is how my expectations, so many of my expectations were grounded in an idea of perfection. And it translated, in all directions in my life, vertically and horizontally, if you will, right? In every dimension of my life. And recently it just shows up in terms of marriage. Does my marriage have to be perfect for it to be okay? Unconsciously, I get it out here, right? It's a superficial level, I get it. But then when things don't go a certain way, and I started looking at what did I expect from my wife? How come I'm so disappointed in the way she handled this, that it didn't live up to this idea? And I started to think what that idea was. And that idea was an impossibility. It's like this. I had this idea that if I found the woman that could be perfect, I would finally be okay. Yeah. Because she'd respond to everything I did in the perfect way. My God, I could just feel good the rest of my life. See, my emotional dependency was so strongly connected to what she was going to do and how she was going to deal with my shortcomings. See, I was looking for her to handle my shortcomings better than I could handle my own shortcomings.
Right.
And
hang on just a second. I got a call coming in here from Jess. I'm gonna have to talk. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. No, we got it. We got four people on him right now. It's okay. All right. Bye bye.
I've got a good example of a marriage relationship emotional sobriety thing that I went through a couple of years ago. So my daughter started college. She just finished her second year, so 2 years ago, I guess. She started college, and my wife and her had a great relationship, but Maddie was lonely, as many freshmen are, and the friendships didn't work out, and she was upset and talking to my wife, and my wife was upset. And I said, I can't believe you guys didn't know this was coming and like that there'd be some separation, there'd be some loneliness. And I was getting upset that they were upset. And what I realized was it was my expectation that they wouldn't get upset. Why not just let them be upset and cry over the phone? And that was the thing, was like, oh, they're fine. My reaction to them is what's off on this.
Right.
I see it even manifesting in things like, finish your dinner. How come you're not eating dinner now? How come there's an expectation that a kid has to eat dinner at 5 o'clock when dinner is served? Where does this idea come from that all the time we're going to, and then when I started to examine it, how come I want her to eat dinner is because I want to feel like I'm doing my job as a parent and feeding my kids, and so they don't go hungry.
Right.
But that doesn't put my kid in the picture. I mean, that treats her like an object again. You must eat because it's 5 o'clock and your dad needs to feel like he's being a good dad. I mean, give me a break. You want to build in an eating disorder? Go ahead and keep doing that shit, Dad. I mean,
right.
It's so interesting how that permeates itself through so many, even little subtle issues like that.
And Tom, your example's a really good one too, as well, is because this is I think a good teaching point about exploring what we can do in our practice with emotional sobriety. Is because I identify with that a lot. And I think Kathy would be the representative to tell us what it is if women have this too. But those men tend to, we have this thing, or a lot of us do, where if you will just let me tell you how I think about this, and if you will think the way I think, then your feelings will be the way that my feelings are. And since I'm not upset, if you'll think about it like this, and of course I didn't realize for quite a while that was one more aspect of my control shit, and it's like, which is the clinical term for it. I found out is control shit, But the idea is, when I finally got to this idea that I would say, I'm only upset because this person or my wife or somebody else, you're being a victim. And so I had a therapist at one time that just said, I think you're a victim to victims. And it's like, and it was beautiful. It just made the point that basically anytime I see somebody being a victim, I immediately need them to change so that I'll be okay. And it's like, there's just something about that, just that there was a little ding in my head for that one. And I've been practicing that one for a long time. And that's what I heard you talking about, just to realize, wait a minute, this, and the other thing is just to realize that relationship they're having over there is none of my business. But we got to keep tracking it back. The teaching point I say, we got to, if you track it down and you go and you got it so far as to say, well, no, I have this now. I'm concerned about this relationship between these two people. Well, that's fine. That may be an issue too, but keep tracking back until you get it all the way back to yourself, till there's something inside of you that you have a choice about. And if you haven't found your way back there, just keep looking. And if you can't find that, get some help to look for it. Because I could always find perfectly good explanations about why I was upset out in the world. And it wasn't that they're not real. It's just, that's not where the solution was going to be.
I've almost come to the conclusion that I almost just don't have to talk anymore because unless it's positive. Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because
well, yeah. Well, to me, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you tell me if it sounds like it might be the same thing. There's a little line I use and say it to myself. When in doubt, just don't say anything.
Yeah.
It's like if and sometimes it's just a matter of, and for me, it's a delay thing. It's like so often I will automatically reflexively say to somebody else because I'm being triggered by something with them, is if I'll just put a delay on it. It's like if it happens in the morning, I'll say, well, tonight when I come home, I'm still thinking about it. Then I'll do something about that. Never am, never, ever. And it's like you just put the pause button, and I don't have to do it immediately, because that's one of the signs of my own control stuff was always that and can still be, is that sense of urgency. I need to say this. Mm-hmm. I need you to, and I not only need that, I need you to understand it now.
And I don't need an opinion on everything, and I certainly don't need to share it if I do. Right.
People don't need they really don't need most of our opinions. Sad for them, of course, but.
Well, it goes back to what Alan said about the S program, about the I got it. It was, for me, it was realizing that, I don't got it. And usually when I say I got it, it goes pretty quickly in spectacular fashion, but like.
So you might as well just say I had it. I had it here a minute ago.
And I lost it. And being able to pursue this emotional sobriety, I do a lot of spiritual reading and exploring with some meditation groups and a book club, and doing it because I want to, not because I need to, not because I feel like there's something missing or I got a hole or that I've got to reach enlightenment. I'm Sisyphus, but I'm pretty cool with just pushing the rock up the hill.
Can I ask, because I'm going to.
Okay, there you go.
How did you guys meet? Because you guys really complement each other very well.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's we also insult each other very well. It's which is obviously balanced. We met at a meeting in Nunley, Tennessee, at the ranch, a treatment center, and I don't even remember why you were there. I was there.
I had just moved to Nashville to run Cumberland Heights,
Mhm,
Third
mhm,
Treatment
mhm.
Center. I was the chief clinical officer, and
Yeah.
we heard about or I was told about the work that you guys were doing out at the ranch.
Well, I was doing none of the work. I was a consultant. I was a consultant there, and I have learned too. This is the nature of consulting. But I referred to myself as the consultant who was never consulted. It's like they gave me money, which I appreciated, but they never asked me any questions or asked me to be involved in anything. So I just stayed there for a while and did some stuff. But very grateful that I met you. And my wife and I were in that meeting because she was
Right.
the equine therapist there. But the bigger deal after that was that Alan was kind enough to invite me to be a part of his.
Oh yeah, so I got exposed to your intrapsychic therapy, which resonates so closely with the Gestalt therapy that I was doing, and how experiential it was. So when we started, Andrew and I started the Evolution of Addiction Treatment Conference in Los Angeles. So every year we would put that together, and we would invite different speakers around that we thought were a part of expanding our understanding of how to treat addiction, how to evolve the dialogue that was necessary. Tom was
it was a great conference, by the way, Alan. You guys put together such innovative people to come in and talk about that stuff.
So I said, God, Tom, would you come out and do a workshop for us? I think it was the first one or the second one,
first one, yeah.
We did the first one together. So it just so happened I forgot what my topic was, but they stuck the rooms next to each other. And it was over, I think we were at the Doubletree at that point in time. And first of all, you know how they divide those conference rooms? These dividers they use are not soundproof.
Those little cloth dividers.
Yeah.
Here, let me, Tom. I'm gonna tag you out here. I got to tell this part because you're not gonna be able to tell it as good as I can because it's sad for me. Our topics are very much very similar. We're right next to each other. We're going to be able to hear each other. Alan has 70 people in his room. I have 4.
Wow.
Okay. So I'm sitting there going. Now this was actually, now that I think about it, testament to my recovery by that point in my life, that I would do this rather than just go through this humiliating experience. But I told my 4, I said, we're going on a field trip. And we went next door and I told Alan, I said, look, I'm not going to do this. And I thought I was, and actually because I do like to get away with not working. And I thought I was, at that point, I had solved that problem. I pulled up a bar stool, which always makes me comfortable, even 35 years into my sobriety. I was sitting over in the corner. And Alan starts to do this wonderful workshop that he's doing, but he goes, well, Tom, come over here. And I go, what? It's like, and I go, and so he waits till we both like to teach by demonstrating. So we were doing role plays and different stuff like that. And so we accidentally did a workshop together. And we had so much fucking fun, and I think the group did too. I think the feedback was good, but it was like no planning whatsoever. The time that I got nervous was the next conference when we were going to do it on purpose.
Yes.
And then I actually panicked at that point, thinking, "Oh my God, I don't think I can do this if I know we're going to do it." But it really was. It was an accidental workshop that we did together, and we've been doing them together since then. And that's
so we called it Point of Intervention was the next workshop.
Yep.
And I remember the first one we did is I like to put slides up. You know that you've seen me present before, and I like to use the slides. And Tom says, "All right, well, I'm going to try to do this." and I'll tell you, he did a much better job. He created some of these great graphics where he had half of his face and half of my face on it, because there was a blending of our work, but yet it was individualized, and it was a great message. And what these workshops meant, and I think we did 5 of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, 5.
So, over the last 12 years, we've been doing these work. That was 12 years ago. I think we've been working together for 13 or 14 now. But what started to happen was we really got quite a following. I mean, we'd get 100 people in the pre-conference workshops coming to join us. And some centers would bring their whole staff to us
Mhm.
because it was so great to see, first of all, that two people could share the stage that had some different ideas about stuff, and we could talk about them respectfully. It wasn't like it had to be this way or that way. There was room for both ways. That was the first thing. And it was a very refreshing thing because you'll see in the field a lot, this is the better way to do than that, right? There's a lot of that in psychotherapy. I'm going to carve out my ground. This is the best therapy.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of polarization that occurs that's unnecessary and creates that opportunity to find that ground where there's some similarities and even though there are some differences.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And different things work for different
Well,
things.
so you're right. So in a funny way, Tom, the whole thing started with your emotional sobriety.
And I never thought about that until today, but you're right. It's like
That was an example of emotion. And listen, I've done those workshops with 4 to 5 people, and I've been invited up in Canada. I remember this one thing I was doing on family therapy. I had 5 folks show up for family therapy session. You know, it's like, you know, I've done those things, and so I've been in those shoes as well. And I thought it really turned out to be, my workshop was a lot better as a result of Tom was there. And I think his workshop was a lot better because of what we had done that day. And that's what we found. The synergy was incredible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Tom, how did you find emotional sobriety?
Who are we talking to?
Tom Oddish. How did you find the meetings and become the Zoom master?
Oh, it's Alan's fault. So
The
I-
Zoom master.
I've been on this path, I think similar to you, Kathy. I got sober at 18. I had a lot of ground to cover in terms of like undoing a lot of the trauma of my youth, and just keep working at it, and through therapy and then other 12-step programs and spiritual guides and some philosophy. It just everything. I'm a spiritual mutt. I'm a recovery mutt. I'll just take anything. And then probably it was about maybe 15 years ago, someone had a recording of Alan talking at I think the Betty Ford Clinic, and when he was introduced, I think you had 30 years, because someone had mentioned you were 30 years sober at 50 years old, right? And like that was part of his introduction, and he talked about Bill's letter as well as some other stuff, and I'm like, this really resonates with me, and I listened to it over and over again for a while, and then other stuff came and went, and then Alan showed back up again, and like, oh, this stuff fits really well with how I see the world, and some of my mixing of Buddhism and non-dualism and recovery work. And he popped up again, and he had done the recording of his interpretation of Bill's letter, and I ordered like a dozen CDs from him and handed out to sponsees and people, and then again he showed up again on my mailing list for the Thursday night meeting, and that's when I started.
He won't go away. That is true. That's true.
And I make and this is my own codependency, emotional sobriety stuff. Is I want to fit in on Thursday night, so I share, right? And I put myself out there, and I'm waiting for some validation. And is this the right love? And then I say, hey, Alan, I do this Zoom thing quite a lot. I'm willing to help out. So all of a sudden, I'm co-host, and I'm letting people in. And it's like I want to belong, but I don't want to be pushy about belonging. It's like this intricate dance that I do, and but I'm okay with where I am in the the hierarchy of Thursday night emotional sobriety. I've carved out a little niche, and I'm good with that right now.
It's interesting because the way I think about your experience there is you followed Stephen Covey's idea in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and where he talks about increase your circle of influence on a person. And what he says is the way you do that is you find out what's going on and what they need, and you try to meet a need that they're not meeting. and try to help them with that. So I've often reflected on what you did in terms of joining the group and how you've made yourself an integral part of that as a very seamless way of making yourself a part of. And to me, it just shows to me your maturity and the work you've done on yourself, and it's deep, and I deeply appreciate you.
Mhm. Yeah, you're
As
definitely.
do I.
And I've never felt that you've pushed yourself.
No.
Not in
Yeah.
the experience I've had. See, that's something in your head, Tom. I don't have.
I appreciate that. And that's again, the talk about Kathy. I'm done, but I still have the tools to evaluate when those thoughts come up, whether or not that's true or not. Right.
Well, you heard that the other day when I was sharing what somebody said in the thing a lot. Hey, we'd like more Roger. And I love what Tom said. Tom said, well, listen, the way I hear that is less Tom, more Roger. And see, that's those other voices in our head, right?
Absolutely.
I thought that, that was such an important thing that you did in the meeting, Tom, when you shared that, because everybody, I've done that a million times. My God, why wasn't I mentioned? Now, wait a minute. There's some, it's that negative arrogance thing that you talk about. Look, it's so great that can be talked about, but I just wanted to give you that feedback. I've never once felt that you're pushy. Even your comments after somebody else shares, I've always felt are appropriate and welcome. There's room for you, and you've created that space.
Well, when you, at one point I said something and you said, great stuff, feel free to jump in. I'm like, great, that's what I want. Oh my God, that's what
I hear. Yeah.
No, and look, that's great that we can talk about those things and own those. Those are the things that I was ashamed of. I felt, and I would never let anybody know we're going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the kind of maturity that's come with this work is I've taken that to my wife, who's my confidant, and my good friends, in recovery, to talk that stuff through. Because again, in here on my own, sometimes it's not exactly clear.
Well, this will bring us full circle back to Kathy's checklist or pre-takeoff checklist there, because toward the bottom of that was it's not, the goal is not happiness, it's freedom, and this honesty is what that's what it gives us. It's basically it's not a very long trip to happiness from freedom is what I find. It's like it's certainly to relaxation, to not be living in fear, but the idea of when Alan, when you say like it's good that we can talk about that stuff, it's like the coolest thing in the world to know that you can just win it. And I get reminded when I'm talking to clients sometimes that I sometimes even take that for granted is the idea, well, what do I do in a situation like this? Is because I'm upset about this and nervous about this. I say, well, just tell them. Tell them the truth. And of course, sometimes, and I remember when somebody would have said that to me and I would have said, okay, well, what else you got? Okay, that would be one stupid thing I could do. But what would be another? Most recent little one-liner I posted somewhere was I wrote with a client in session the other day, which was, when I don't know what to do, I know what to do. That's where confidence and humility meet. It's like, I know. And it's basically what we're talking about here, this very subject of support. Reach out, I need to talk to somebody. I need to run something past somebody. It doesn't have to be, one of the things I want people to know about support, that doesn't just mean emergency support. Stay in touch with people. It's okay. It's just, it doesn't even have to be urgent. I had a friend years and years and years ago said, I call my sponsor every day. And he says, the reason I do that way, when I have a stupid question, it doesn't show up so much.
I just want to say this has really been like a highlight of my life, being able to be on this podcast with you guys. And you guys are so great. So,
well, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful to have you here. It really is.
Yeah, and I love, and that's one of the wonderful things about that amazing group that you started, Alan. And I know that it didn't occur to you that this is what was going to happen when you decided to host a group for a couple of weeks when the COVID thing happened. It's like this happened, but it's the idea that so many people show up at that meeting. And from that community, I feel like I have made friends with you guys. I feel, it's like we live in a world. Of course, this is weird when you grew up in the '60s. It's like it's just we live in a world where we have many, many friends I've never met in person.
Mhm.
It's like, but the idea that we have such an intimate connection in that setting is has been that. I'll use your word with that. That's been a highlight of my life, definitely.
Mhm.
So thank you guys.
Kathy, I want to. Oh, sorry to interrupt. No, I wanted to be sure that you saw the movie Flight about the pilot in recovery. Did you enjoy that?
Yes, was that the one with
Denzel Washington.
Yes, that was incredible.
Yeah, that seems like something you might enjoy. And then I wanted to be sure before we signed off, would you mind if I posted your list for people to look at
Sure.
with the episode?
I'll send it to you. Yes.
Yeah, I'll make sure that finds its way into the show notes.
All right. So one final announcement is I've got my book signing party, my virtual book signing party coming up on June 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Hors d'oeuvres will be served, but not tasted.
Right. Well, they'll be served because I'm serving my own. Yeah.
They will be served.
Make my own.
I guess everybody has your own.
Bring your own hors
So,
d'oeuvres.
Tom, I appreciate so much that you're going to be participating in that. And I'm very excited about the format of the evening. People are my good dear friend Chuck Alvarez, and you're going to love this guy. He's in recovery for a long time. He's a phenomenal guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
I played in 3 bands with Chuck so far, and Chuck, the reason the band sounded so good was because of Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was our musical. Chuck was amazing. So he's coming in. He's bringing in some songs that are perfect for the evening, and then after that, several of my dear friends and colleagues are going to read a section of the book that stood out to them, and then discuss it. And it should be there's no should, but it will be, and I think phenomenal night. I'm very excited. If you'd like, it's open to anyone. Patrick will also post this in the notes from this podcast, but it's www.4dphd.com. So that's 4dphd.com. There's an ISVP right on the front page of that website. Please click that. You will then get the Zoom link, and you will also get a gift. Like with any book signing, when you come to a book signing, you usually walk away with a little bag with some goodies in it, like a pen and stuff like that. Well, you're going to get a collection of memes that are taken from the book, that are kind of little nutshell wisdoms from the book that Kristen has put together. So please sign up and join us on June 3rd, 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, PDT.
Thank you for helping us with that today.
Yeah. We'll see you all next week.
Tend your life, tend your myth, cultivate your narrative with whomever you're with. Then with glass in hand and children on one knee, bring some stories, bring your stories back to me. It ain't a crime to be a human. Never be ashamed to be yourself. Rest assured that whatever you're doing will entertain me like nobody else. So here's to us, my old friends, until it's time to drink the wine and break the bread again. With glass in hand and children on one knee, bring some stories, bring your stories back to me.